A man shouts at an elderly nurse in a crowded lobby, calling her useless as people watch in silence. But in just minutes, they will learn her name, Lena Ward, the forgotten field nurse who once saved 500 soldiers and whose quiet strength is about to change everything in this room. Trouble rose before anyone could explain it. A man shouted across the crowded lobby, pointing at the elderly nurse who stood quietly near the registration desk. "You're holding up the line. Let someone useful go first." His voice cracked like a spark in dry air, and every head turned. The woman did not answer. Her hands trembled slightly, but her eyes stayed calm, steady, almost heartbreakingly patient. People whispered. No one defended her. The silence felt like a weight pressing against the walls. She was known as Nurse Lena Ward, though very few knew what her name truly meant. Time had carved gentle lines across her face, but her presence felt stronger than anyone around her. She wore a simple coat, worn at the edges, the kind that carried years of night shifts, field tents, and quiet prayers whispered over broken bodies. A young clerk asked for her papers, speaking with a tone that suggested impatience more than care. Lena searched through her bag, fingers brushing against an old patch stitched to the inside lining, a small red cross, a relic of another life. Behind her, the man who had yelled earlier muttered, loud enough for half the room to hear. These old people think the world owes them something. Still, Lena stayed quiet. Her silence wasn't surrender. It was a shield, shaped by memories too heavy to explain to a stranger who had never held a fading hand in the dust of battlefields. Her past rose in waves, scents of iron and soil, cries echoing in the night, the warmth of a soldier's hand gripping hers as she whispered, "You're going home. Stay with me." She had worked through storms, through shortages, through nights when the only light came from burning trucks on distant hills. She had saved hundreds, some with bandages, some with hope, some with nothing but her voice steady in the chaos. But she never spoke of it. She believed that real service didn't need an audience. Years ago, in a field hospital far from home, she had stood alone during an attack, pulling wounded soldiers to shelter one by one. Her boots had sunk into the mud as she dragged bodies that were heavier than her entire frame. Rumor said she saved 500 lives across that brutal winter. She never counted. Numbers weren't what she carried. Faces were. Back in the lobby, a young woman in a military jacket stepped inside and froze the moment she saw Lena. Her breath caught. She remembered that face from a photo in her father's old trunk. Her father, who often said, "A quiet nurse saved me. If not for her, I'd never come home." The young woman stepped forward. "Ma'am, is your name Lena Ward?" Her voice shook as if she were terrified of being wrong. Lena nodded softly. The room changed, not because Lena said anything, but because the young woman suddenly stood straight, lifted her hand, and offered a respectful salute, a pure, unwavering gesture, a message without a single spoken word. The lobby fell silent. Then came another moment, quiet but powerful. A security guard recognized the name. Then an older veteran stepped closer, removed his cap, and bowed his head. Respect spread like a rising tide. People who had been staring now stepped aside, creating a clear path for her. The man who had yelled earlier shrank back, face pale, realizing he had shouted at someone who had given more than he could imagine. Lena simply offered him a gentle look, not of anger, but of grace. Her silence was her answer. Someone whispered, "Heroes don't always wear medals." Another voice added, "Some carry memories we'll never understand." Lena walked forward, not with pride, but with the same steady calm she had carried through every battlefield. Her only words, spoken softly as she moved past them, were, "Kindness is never wasted, not even today." The room stood still, united in a moment of pure respect. And long after she left, people spoke about the quiet nurse who changed the air of that room with nothing but her presence. Because true honor doesn't shout. It stands. It endures. And sometimes it saves 500 lives without ever asking for a thank you.